Welcome back to another episode of Divine Journey 2. In the last episode, we made the coke oven as well as the improved blast furnace for faster steel. And in between episodes, I made 3 more metal presses for the other 3 molds. I made a crusher and this Cincinnati furnace, or forge rather, for better ore doubling rather than using the smeltery. And I also made this room that we can later use for expansion or whatnot. Speaking of using this room for future expansion, today I would like to work towards diesel and mechanism and applied energistics. But to do that, we have to get the refinery, and to get that, we have to get ethanol and seed oil. And to get that, we need both the squeezers, which I gathered up the materials for, but I'm not going to set that up yet, because to get said ethanol and seed oil, I had a look through, and I think the easiest one is the best would be coffee beans, since we just have to set up one farmland and we can use the seeds for seed oil and the coffee beans for ethanol. And they both give 8, so that's pretty easy. But to set up said farm, we can't just use any old harvester or whatnot, because those recipes are quite expensive. I had to look through the different elemental soils from roots, and one of them harvest crops when they're fully grown. So I think we could just do like a hopper minecart under it to pick up the drops, I guess. But to get to that point, we first have to get terraspores and terramoss. So there's 2 ways of getting terramoss. Either A, go find mossy cobblestone in the world, or B, using terraspores on cobblestone in water. And get fancy particles too. And then to get the actual moss, we just right click with a knife, and there's our moss. Next up is bark, and that's just simply cutting down logs. Using the bark, the root of the fallen, which is just the bow and the wild roots, and the terra moss we gathered, as well as the bloodied stones, we can make the pyre. Next up, we need to make some charred stone, which is simple enough. It's just 3 stone, 1 bark, and 1 moss. And all I have to do is light the pyre. I'm going to make a bit more of this, and I'll be right back. Next up is the groove stone. Okay, I've made everything, almost everything, that we need to use the Fey Crafter, but we have to activate this groove stone first. And to do that, we have to make the groove supplication ritual. And I've gathered everything here, so all I have to do is just put this in the Fey Craft, not the Fey Crafter, the pyre, light it up. And now our groove stone is activated. Now that we have the Fey Crafter, we can make our elemental soil, and that's just petals, terra moss, compressed gravel, bone blocks, and compressed dirt. And we just have to use the knife. There we go. And to get the version that auto harvest, we just have to drop it in water. And now it harvests plants when they reach maturity. Okay, I've set up our aqueous soil over here. It's a 9x9, and I put coffee seeds on it. And then for the collection system, it's just a hopper minecart on some rails. And then that runs over here. And then on this hopper back here, there is a stopper to allow it to empty, and then it'll send it off again once the hopper minecart's empty. And it's just real simple. It's just a comparator into a block. It's a comparator into a block with a torch on it, and then a repeater into another block, and that powers the rail when there's nothing in it, and depowers the rail when it's emptying stuff. Okay, I've gathered all the blocks needed for both the squeezer and the fermenter. Let's get to building. Okay, here's the squeezer and the fermenter. Alright, now that both the squeezer and fermenter are assembled, we can throw in our coffee seeds in the squeezer for, once it finishes, for plant oil. And we can throw our coffee beans in fermenter for ethanol. And I'm also going to gather all the materials for the refinery, I believe is the next step. Alright, now that our refinery is built and powered, we can run our ethanol and plant oil in, and it'll get biodiesel. So, using the 2 buckets of biodiesel we just made, we can make the energized Surskort crystal, as well as the energized osmium ingot. Another thing we can do with this squeezer is start making hop graphite, which is just 8 coke dust, and it should eventually, yeah. It'll make hop graphite dust. We can smelt this into the ingots, and then in the engineer's workbench, we can turn that into the electrodes for the arc furnace. Okay, now that we have both energized osmium and energized Cirrus quartz, we can't actually get into applied energistics, 'cause that's a little more ways away. So instead we're just going to get into mechanisms so we can have better steel production. And yeah. So first off we have to make our steel casing. And we can make our first of many metallurgic infusers. Okay, I've had to make some small changes to our refinery setup. Since this was on a chunk border, I had to actually rotate it a bit. And I also rotated these two. And yeah, the cabling's a little junky, but we can hide that eventually. Also, I spent quite a bit gathering up all the materials for the arc furnace, so yeah. Alright, if everything is correct, it should form. Alright, and there's our arc furnace. Okay, the next multi-block we're going to make is the excavator, and that's going to allow us to pretty much get into some form of automated mining. But to actually use the excavator properly, we have to use this core sample drill. And what this does is pretty much just lets you sample around, and it's chunk based, so every chunk's gonna have a different sample. You can see I did a 3x3 over there, and I got, I think, coal and iron and something else. So to actually get the sample, all you have to do is put the sample drill down, give it power, and then apply a redstone signal. The middle is gonna start spinning, and in about 5 seconds or so, it should pop back up with the sample. Alright, and this one has nothing, so we're not going to use that. Okay, I've built the excavator, and all you have to do is shift click on the engineering block, and it's formed. Okay, I put this up to power, and for right now I'm just going to use a capacitor. Probably gonna put like 3 water wheels here, just temporary, until we get wireless power, but that's not going to be for a while. And then I just stuck a chest on the back of this, and yeah, we're already getting ores. Alright, now that we have the arc furnace, the next step to getting into Atum is to get this quest, and obviously, to get to that quest, we have to progress a little through routes. And I've gathered up, I believe, should be most of what we need to complete all these quests. So yeah, I'll craft all this shit and be right back. Okay, we have to perform one last ritual, which is the wild root growth ritual, which is going to transform any fully grown wild root into a tree, and we need that for a couple more items for the portal opener. So yeah, we'll light it and we'll wait. Alright, now that we've crafted everything, we can make the artificial scarab wings with the spirit herb, the stalactite, the fey leather, the moonglow leaf, and the wild wheat. Okay, I want to sidetrack here for one quick minute. We're gonna make 4 industrial slime balls for both the slime boots and also the slime sling, which will basically, it's pretty much for me to get around faster and get to places quicker without having to walk, because the slime sling and the slime boots, they're pretty nice for travel. Probably also make the hang glider because that's pretty useful too. But to make said industrial slime balls, it's just salt, raw beef, raw pork chops, clay, and slime balls in the arc furnace. And now we can make the slime boots, as well as the slime sling. So, next up we need to make the second part of the scrab, and for that we actually need industrial leather, but instead of 4 I'm actually going to make 16 for the second part of the scrab and the hang glider. And this takes treated leather, the 2 hide scraps, which is just imp leather, that's easy, sugar's easy. But this stalactite we can actually grow on normal elemental soil, and we could just bone meal it. So instead of crafting it 16 times, we could just do this instead, and it's much easier. Okay, I've gathered up everything for our industrial leather, and all I have to do now is just throw it in the blast furnace. Or not the blast furnace, rather the arc furnace. And there's our 16 industrial leather. So the first thing I'm going to use the industrial leather on is these 2 glider wings for the hang glider. Okay, I've gathered up the rest of the materials to make the artificial scarab body. Everything was easy. It was just gold and hop graphite. The only thing was this, because I had to go searching for beetles, and it was a 50% chance, and it was just really annoying. But eventually I got lucky. So yeah, here's our artificial scarab body. Now that we have the artificial scarab body, we have to actually make the flawless scarab body, and then using that we can combine it with the wings to actually get the key to the portal. But to get the flawless body, we have to actually get the lamp of cinders, which requires the key, which requires the rock. So I'm gonna grab this stuff really quick. Okay, to make the twilight rock, we need brown dye. And to actually get cocoa beans, we can do a roots transmutation ritual, which will transform dead bushes into 3 cocoa beans. So all this required was moonglow leaf, a living arrow, which was pretty easy, chiseled runestone, amethyst, and the fey leather. So that's easy enough. So if I did this right, we should just have to light this and it should work. There's our cocoa beans. So here's the twilight rock, the twilight key, the lamp of cinders. Alright, now that we have the lamp of cinders, we can make the flawless scarab wings, as well as the flawless scarab body. And using the 2 components, we can make the scarab. So to actually make the portal to Atum, we need a 5x5 platform of sandstone. Then a border of sandstone. Then 2 pillars on the corner. And finally, the middle has to be filled in with water. Then all we have to do is just drop the scarab in the pool. Okay, I think I'm gonna call it here for episode 3. And next episode, we're probably gonna go to Atum, and we're probably gonna search for the AE meteors, get the presses, and maybe do a boss fight or two. We'll see. But yeah, thanks for watching.